The king's whispers. I can still hear the whispers at night. His voice. That low, cracked voice. It's been 20 years since I left the kingdom, but I still feel him watching me. It began the day my father disappeared. Our village was small, just a dot on the map of King Olumide's vast empire. His palace sat far away, surrounded by thick forests and hills, but his power reached everywhere. Everyone feared him. They said he didn't rule with words or strength, he ruled with fear. You see, the king had a rule: no one could look him in the eyes. If you did, you'd never be seen again. People whispered about it. Some said he had a curse, that if you saw his true face, it would haunt you forever. Others said it was just his way of keeping power, of making us feel small. My father was a storyteller. He wasn't afraid of much. He'd sit by the fire at night, spinning tales about the spirits of the forest and the gods who punished wicked kings. He always warned us not to let fear control us. One day, the king's guards came to our village. They called it a summons. My father had been chosen to perform at the palace. He was proud. I remember him kissing my head and telling me, "This is an honor. I'll be back soon." But he didn't come back. Weeks passed. Then months. My mother stopped eating. The village elders whispered about what might have happened, but no one dared go to the palace to ask. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. I was 16, angry, and scared. I decided to find out what happened to my father. The journey to the palace took 3 days. When I got there, the air felt wrong. The guards didn't speak. They didn't even look at me as they led me inside. The palace was cold, even though it was the middle of the dry season. The walls were lined with masks, hundreds of them, all different, all staring down at me. Finally, they brought me to the throne room. King Olumide was sitting there, draped in gold and red, his face hidden by one of those masks. I tried not to look directly at him, but my eyes betrayed me. Just for a second, I saw his eyes through the mask. They weren't human. They were too dark, too deep. Like looking into a well that had no bottom. He tilted his head and spoke. His voice was like dry leaves scraping against stone. "Why have you come here?" "My father," I said, barely above a whisper. "He came here months ago. I want to know where he is." The king laughed. It wasn't loud or sharp. It was soft, like he was trying to keep it a secret. Then he clapped his hands. The floor opened. What I saw still keeps me awake. It was a pit, deep and dark, filled with bones. Some were old and yellow. Others weren't. The smell hit me first, rotting flesh and damp earth. The king leaned forward. "Your father looked at me," he said. "He broke the rule. Just like you." I ran. I don't know how I escaped. The guards didn't chase me. Maybe they thought I wouldn't survive the forest. Maybe they didn't care. But as I stumbled through the trees, I swore I heard his voice, whispering my name. I made it back to my village. My mother didn't ask what happened, and I never told her. We left the next day, walking as far as our legs could carry us. But sometimes, at night, I hear him. The king. Calling my name. And I know that one day, he'll come for me.